In this corner, retired MMA fighter and EFC Africa Lightweight champion and professional wrestler, Dave the Pain Train Mazany.
Time to get into the ring on this episode of The Open Highway.
This episode is brought to you by Our Weird World. Every week, I, John Henson, dive into weird, crazy, and forgotten stories from the history books that you have probably never heard before. I try to put some humor into it, or maybe I just come off sounding like a dick. That's really up for you to decide. But join me every Monday. Subscribe everywhere that you get your podcasts.
Hey everybody, Eric here. I just wanted to take a moment and thank you for your continuing support for The Open Highway. And I have news for you. The Open Highway is now on Substack. That's right, head on over to Substack where we take a deeper dive into the news of the day, the topics that you hear on the show, or pretty much whatever I'm interested in. The link is in the show notes, so head on over and sign up, and now you can be part of the conversation. But most of all, thanks for listening.
The Open Highway with Eric Erickson.
There's one thing I wanted to ask you though right off. So I've known you, God, what, 8 years, 7, 8 years, something like that.
Okay,
Yeah, but in all this time, I was watching a highlight reel of yours the other night of a couple of your fights, right?
yeah.
And each commentator pronounced your name different. Like
Yes.
every single one. And I'm like, even after all the time I've known you, I still don't know how exactly you like to pronounce it. So
Yeah.
let's solve that once and for all right now.
Make it Mazany.
Mazany.
Yeah,
Okay.
that.
All right.
That's
Cool.
working. I think that's how I say it. Yeah, but I say Sani.
Oh, okay. That's an easy way to remember it. So how'd you get into combat sports? I've never been able to ask you that. Like, were you into it when you were a kid?
No,
Were you
like, I played ice hockey. I grew up playing ice hockey. I liked ice hockey. And I actually kind of like the violent part of it. I love body checking. I love getting physical and whatever. That was fun. But I basically, and I did like karate one year, but I thought it was dumb because I was like, this isn't really fighting. It was odd. I wrestled one year when I was in 8th grade, and I was pretty successful with that. But it in high school, it was the same season as hockey season, so I had to choose one of the two. But at the end of the day, I ended up going to Blockbuster and seeing the Ultimate Fighters, like the VHS tapes in the special interest section. And I was like, I heard about this thing. And so we would watch it when we were young. And then I got into I thought mixed martial arts was the coolest thing because I grew up watching movies like Bloodsport and, all the martial arts movies growing up. And
Yeah.
I particularly gravitated to Bloodsport because it was a tournament that combined skills, and you got to, because I was always curious, like which martial art would be the best. And that is what the question that was being answered in UFC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was the whole premise. Like, which martial art is better? We're going to generate a competition for that. So basically I was a fan. And then when I graduated from college, I was like, well, let's try doing this because I don't like watching. I like doing, So,
Yeah. And you grew up in Alaska though, right? Didn't you?
Yes, Alaska and college in Colorado.
Oh, let's keep it in the snow. There you go.
Yeah. And then
And then you end up in Vegas one day. So yeah, because when UFC first came out, man, it was like, I remember I was in college at the time, and it was like kind of underground. It was like, because in many states it was still illegal, and we heard rumors that it was even illegal to broadcast it. It was like so dangerous, and it took a while before it got legitimate. So you were getting in right. That's kind of the beginning then when you're starting to get interested.
Kind of. Yeah, I was interested in the beginning. I mean, I was following Pride in Japan. Like I graduated high school in '02, and like we were ordering the pay-per-views in 2000. And so we'd invite our friends over, like, what is this thing? And we were introducing our friends to mixed martial arts. And it sort of went hand in hand with, it sort of went hand in hand with pro wrestling, in a sense that pro wrestling was a thing that inspired us too. My brother and I, we both loved pro wrestling, and we'd be getting, and we like the stuff in Japan. We like watching New Japan Wrestling and King of the Death Match and all kinds of
the Mick Foley stuff with the barbed wire and the
in Japan, they had the best fighters in the world at the time, in the early 2000s, late 90s. But they also incorporated pro wrestling entertainment stuff. They would have freak fights, and they would have actual pro wrestlers fighting, and they would have fighters do pro wrestling. That's how like guys like Don Fry got into pro wrestling, and Kazushi Sakuraba was a huge name, and he was also went back and forth. There's all kinds of Takada. They had the first Pride champ fight with Takada and Hickson Gracie. And because everybody thought Takada could actually fight, and Hickson was the best Gracie, out of all of them. Like Hoist wasn't the best out of the family; it was Hickson, and so it was interesting to see, Takada get mopped up by Hickson. They didn't know. But,
so when was your first fight? When was your first amateur fight?
Funny story. This is really funny. Like, and not a lot of, I haven't told this story a lot. But when I was in college, I was a distance runner coming in. I was a cross country runner. So we trained 12. We had 12 training sessions a week. So we would do 2-a-days, Monday through Friday, and then we would run Saturday, Sunday, right? We did our break was run slower. I was into UFC, I was into Pride, I was into mixed martial arts, and at our small town in Alamosa, Colorado, this bar called Weekends had this ultimate fight night where it did mixed martial arts, and like it was like, I have it on a VHS tape somewhere still. But it was like this ring that was like on the ground that was built. It was a ring, but it was like not raised. It was on the ground in a little tiny country bar, and it was packed full of people and not very formal at all. And I fought this random dude, and we went the distance, and it was interesting. But it was funny because I was not telling my coach about it, because obviously he wouldn't be excited about me fighting. And so I ran a 10-miler that morning, which was our recovery run. And then that night I fought, and the next day I did my long run on Sunday, so it's like,
I have so many questions. First of all, did you win?
No, I went down to decision and I lost the decision. So
you lost the decision. Okay. Was it a
Roman wrestler? He came out on a singlet and shit. So that wasn't bad considering, and we actually went an unofficial overtime round, because like I put him in like a little head scissors, like submission hold thing.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of have it's not really a submission, but there are a few. I do a Kimura head scissors submission that I use, but it was just funny because the crowd's like, "What? He almost had him. Let's do one more round." And it was one more round.
One more. Can you imagine if the UFC, if they were like, "One more round"?
Yeah, that's
Dana White's like, "Yeah."
How it was. Well, okay. So the first round, this is funny too. The first round, we went out and we're doing our thing, and then the ring girls got in a fight. I gotta get this tape. The ring girls got in a fight. So this guy literally has his ring girl, and he's carrying her out on his shoulder. She's grabbing onto the post, and goes out, and then that's like the end of our round. It was weird, like that they didn't stop the clock or something. So our first round was like half fighting, the ring girls fought, and yeah, it was janky. So
it's like something out of Roadhouse. It's like you expect Patrick Swayze to come in and throw one of you guys out for.
If you're traveling in Southern Colorado and you happen to go through Alamosa, Colorado, go to Weekends. You'll feel like you're in Roadhouse. It was the best.
It's still there.
It's still there. Yeah.
Oh God.
Recently, and I was like, man, I should have spent an extra day so I can just go get hammered. Like, cause that's what we did on Wednesdays. They had $5 beer bus where all you could drink for $5 until 10, So
Were the fighters drinking before they fought, or were they like serious athletes?
It was I don't think they were drinking before they fought, but they were like, none of them were formally trained. There was a few wrestlers in there, a few football players, but it was like, hey, you guys want to fight UFC rules, and okay, cool. So
was it like open mic? Did they like come in and be like, you fight at 9 o'clock, sign up early, or was it organized?
I think I like called them and they sort of like weighed me in unofficially and matched me with somebody random. It was kind of, yeah, it wasn't, I mean, they would do that at the boxing venue, Thursday night fights in Anchorage. They sort of did it like that. Like, you want to fight that guy? He's kind of close to your weight, the same thing, but
people don't realize there's a lot of, I mean, that's been around forever. You hear these stories about like the bar boxing fights. They do it in Rocky. They have the scene in the original Rocky where he's fighting in a club. And that's used to be what it was.
It's way back in the day. Like I know in Alaska, like where I'm from, Thursday night fights, they would do this boxing venue, and they would have they'd have legit boxers, but like beginning card was like, hey, these two had beef. Let's let them box it out, and they'll get paid. And they'll wear 16-ounce gloves and go at it. But
people love that.
They would literally back in the day, they would like, oh, we need a fighter for this guy. Who wants to fight him? Oh, fight him! Like my parents. Their friends and they're telling me something about Ray would I guess he did like kung fu and karate and stuff, so he'd like go out there and try to fight people.
Oh my god. Jeez. So how did you get so at some point you started wrestling as well, because you have an MMA career, you're an EFC Africa champ, so there's that road, and then you also have a road as a professional wrestler, which has always fascinated me, and I got in the ring with you. And like I still show the footage to people about, and I'm still proud of it. I don't know if I could do it today. I'm getting a little older, but that was like a dream come true for me to be able to. We were doing, for those who don't know, we shot a spec pilot for a TV show that never went anywhere. But one of the things was I got to get in the ring with Dave. That's how we met. And he beat the hell out of me, quite honestly. But so I've always been fascinated by that, because one is performance and really kind of a more of a, we're not kids anymore. We know that the outcomes are decided, but they're still athletic. Oh no,
what?
Kayfabe.
Spoiler alert.
But then on the other hand, you have pure combat sport where you're just trying not to get your neck broken. And I've always been fascinated by you about how you were able to keep these two roads going. How did you get into wrestling? Let's start with that.
Pro wrestling was something like, obviously I was a Hulkamaniac when I was a little kid, we were in the 80s, Ted DiBiase, all those guys, brother, dug that. And there was a little gap, and the Attitude Era came out when I was in high school, like Stone Cold and The Rock was, The Rock, not the actor. Some people don't realize. Used to be a wrestler.
People don't realize how huge that was in like the late 90s. Like it was enormous.
I remember when he got Saturday Night Live the first time. I was like, hey, he's gonna go do so awesome. I was like so excited. That was like the first time you saw him like act. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But Mick Foley and everything. So in high school, my brother and me, and we had a buddy named Jack. His real name is Jack Manley. And so,
he's either a wrestler or a porn star. It's gonna happen.
Right, I know. And when he first started wrestling, he decided to be the Showcase Kevin Riggs, and I was like, dude, your name's Jack Manley. Come on, And eventually started wrestling again under that. But so we had a backyard fed, and we actually we met a guy who was trying to do this backyard fed, and I don't know, his dad, he had resources. He was a kid with resources, and he built a ring in his backyard, and we had like tires under the ring and like suspension. And we found some wrestling mats at a high school that was in a back shed. We found them. So we just pulled our truck up and so we put a canvas over it, and we could run ropes. We could take bumps. We could do all the spots that wrestle. So we kind of like trained ourselves for a while. And then we hooked up with AWA, Alaska Wrestling Alliance, and trained with them a bit. And then they kind of went under, and it was like in between them and Alaska Wrestling Federation, AWF, and there was like a feud.
Oh, there always is. All those little promotions.
Yeah. And so like I did a little bit more reffing. My brother did a little more wrestling, and he became the Alaska Tag Team Champ with Matt. It was Matt the Pretty Boy Floyd and the Sweet Sugar Stud Sean Summers and John Thompson. He works on the news and stuff now. My brother's in LA doing film production and stuff. So, yeah, and so I started there. Then college happened. That was high school. College happened. MMA started. I had some matches at the Alaska State Fair with Jack Manley. That was my first like official match in front of like people. And then later on, I got to Vegas, and my sister and I were friends with Josh Barnett. Like Josh trained out of Seattle where Gina trained.
Yeah.
And so Josh came in town one time, and I told him about this Nitro Brew coffee, and he's like, "Oh my God, I need to try this Nitro Brew. Where is this at?" So we went and had some coffee together, and he's like, "Bro, why aren't you pro wrestling anymore? Why aren't you working?" I'm like, I don't know. He's like, and he described to me that it's really good for mixed martial arts because you get ring awareness, and you get like the crowd, the performance part, or like the nerves from being in front of an audience. You get to exercise that where you can't exercise that in the cage. Like I can go to MMA practice. I can practice punching, blocking, takedowns, submissions. I can practice all these things. We could simulate a full fight in a practice if I want, like CM Punk did. I guess he did like full fights or whatever to get ready for his UFC because he didn't have any fights. But like you cannot. There's no way to prepare you for the lights, the crowd, the yelling, while I'm in there trying to listen to my corners. Pro wrestling, you have to have a degree of awareness that it's required in pro wrestling that's not really required in MMA. Like in my first fights, I couldn't barely hear my corner. I couldn't hear things on either side. But in pro wrestling, I have to listen for the crowd member going, "Pain Train," so I can hype them up,
Yeah.
And then if I hear a boo over there, I got to encourage the boo, or if I'm a heel, go, "No, you suck."
I never thought of that.
Right. So, and also there's a point where you have a job to do, what you're doing, you're behind the curtain, you're kind of nervous because you want to perform, and you go and you make an entrance, people are cheering and stuff. So that allows you to be more comfortable with that setting. And the more comfortable you are, the better you'll fight. Because like there's a lot of people that will fight well in the gym, but not in competition. And some of it is they haven't done competitions enough. And pro wrestling was a safer form of competition for me because I'd make all my matches safe. I wouldn't do any crazy stuff. I would just be a better wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when you were, let's flash forward. There were times when you were doing both. There was a lot of times when you were doing both.
Yeah.
And I seem to remember a little bit of pushback. Some people, there were kind of like people who frowned on it a little bit. They're like, "Yeah, he's not a real fighter. He's a wrestler," or da, 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 da. And you proved them wrong time and again.
Mm-hmm.
And the tape's out there. I urge everybody to go see them because I've watched you do it. But what would you respond to them with when they're like, "Oh, you're not a real fighter. You're a wrestler"?
It's funny because usually people who are criticizing you, they're usually not as successful as you are. Generally, it's somebody who's not. So I've learned to not take criticism from somebody that's not qualified to give criticism, right? Like, and this is something for everybody to realize, and just think about any troll you have encountered with anything on the internet, because usually it came through the internet. People weren't saying that to my face, right?
Yeah.
The one guy who did was right before a fight, and I knocked him out. But yeah, it was the best feeling ever. I put the claw right in his face. My finisher was a claw. I grab him in the head, and they die like Baron von Raschke. So, no, like any hater, like anybody out there that's really critiquing you, like offering their wisdom without asking for it. My favorite response, honestly, to that stuff was like, "Thank you for your feedback." And I would just leave it at that because they want you to be argumentative,
Yeah, that's a good one.
If I really want to like talk to somebody about it. If somebody like would really, if I respected their opinion and they want to talk about it, I would respond. I would talk about the ring awareness. I would talk about how, I keep my matches safe so I don't get hurt. I've never really been injured in pro wrestling. I took basic bumps and did basic moves, but like a good wrestler is an entertainer, and you don't need to do fancy things to be entertaining, like if you can work with very little, you like look at Jake the Snake and even Hulk Hogan, or there's a lot of guys who had a very short move set, but it's like, okay, it's the space between the notes that make the music. You don't need a bunch of notes. You need to like play the notes perfectly at the right times and the right sequence and with the right timing, and all of a sudden it's a good song.
Because you're telling a story.
Yeah.
And I've talked. Kat Waters is a friend of mine, and she's been on the show, and we talked about that. And she was in the Divas for a short amount of time, and they couldn't get the story right. And so it's like, and you and I talked about that when you were training me. It was like not just about how to take a bump. It was like how to sell this, how to sell the pain, how to sell the hero, how to sell the baby face, how to sell the heel, how to, draw them in. Right. And it always bugs me when people like come down on wrestling.
Right.
Not, if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. If you think it's a soap opera, it's a soap opera. It's whatever. But it's entertaining, and they're telling a story. And when it's told right, when they're really doing well, and they get these really good, good and evil and coming back, it just really works. And there's certain storylines that always work, like the employee against the employer, going. That's why Stone Cold did so well, because he was going up against McMahon. And it was everyone wanted to scream at their boss. They're doing the same storyline now, and in SmackDown. So it's like you said, it's in between the notes. There's so much more to it than just going
and doing moves and doing things, doing tricks. It's like you said, it's a story. And even and this is what okay. So now let's apply that to MMA. Let's apply a story to MMA. I have to, in order to be entered. So the reason why The Ultimate Fighter worked well is because the audience started forming a relationship with the fighter. Like there's people that we know as celebrities or musicians or whatever, that you feel like you know them because they shared so much of themselves. Like you listen to their music that they wrote, they shared stuff with themselves. So you feel like you have a relationship with them, right?
Right.
If you ever know somebody who's fighting, that's the most into a fight you will ever be in your life, right? Like, because this person. Hey, I don't want Eric to get beat up, but when he's gonna fight, like, oh shoot, I'm nervous. I hope he wins. Like I want him to be happy. So, as a fighter going into a promotion, you have to find a way to create a story, and then a way for people to relate with you or whatever. So, a lot of people do that by either like in the easiest way, the kind of like, in my opinion, is they try to be a dickhead. They, pretty much do the whole Conor McGregor thing, right? And I think it worked for Conor McGregor because I think he can authentically be that character. If you're not authentically that character, it'll read through. And I'm not that guy. So despite all the encouragement I got from the EFC, every once in a while, I'll be like, hey, why don't you, push him at weigh-ins or something. I was like, I don't do that. That's not who I am. I'm a sportsman. I'm an ambassador of mixed martial arts. And I felt like that was my responsibility, especially being the only guy from America at the time, coming into their country and fighting. I was like, I want to represent our country in a good light, as much as I want to represent myself and my name, my family in a good light. That is who I am. And people started to respect that as much as a guy who was aggressive and mean. I'm an athlete. I believe in positive things. I want this fighting thing to be a medium to inspire people to do better things, because that's what happened to me when I was a kid. I saw athletes, saw pro wrestlers, I saw whoever, and it made me want to be something bigger than who I am. And something I want.
They can get wrapped up in that too. I mean, everybody's still talking about Ronda Rousey, about how the fall of Ronda Rousey, and people still want to know, like, how much of that was really her, how much of that was bravado, how much of that was a story, because She went down fast.
She kind of, well, and you have to, so Rhonda, like, she's somebody that I've never met Rhonda, you know, her husband trained at Extreme a little bit, and I had very little bit of interaction, not like hi, you know, we walk by hi or whatever, and Travis Brown. But like, I know where she's coming from in a lot of ways. She was a high-end competitor, and she was kind of groomed by her mom. She was very hardcore, like, hey, like, you need to be this best person. But like, when you're a strong competitor, you have this ego that's different than everyone else. You want to be a world beater. You want to honestly believe that you can crush any person. Like, how could you be a champion and not think that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what she did is let the whole world know how she feels on the inside. Like, you have to shift your mindset to like, I want to destroy this person. This person's my enemy. They are taking my happiness. I'm gonna do whatever I can to bring them down so I can move up. You have to do that. And all she did was let it project on the outside. And it worked because she won and she looked like a hero. But the minute she lost, everybody turned on her and it was like, wait, all of a sudden you're a bitch. You're not like,
yeah.
I mean, like, no, you liked this. And the minute it didn't work, I mean, this is like what her ego was. And I don't know who she really is on the inside. She's probably a sweet person, but I know that switch that you turn on as a competitor, and it's scary, but she just let it out. That's my opinion on that.
How does that switch affect you? I mean, how does that, as an athlete at that level, having to turn that switch and go into the ring with that mindset, and then coming out, it's that turning off that warrior switch.
Feels good.
What's it like, man?
Feels good
to turn it off or on or both.
It feels good to turn it on, to let your eyes glaze over, become somebody you're not, and just be a warrior, right? Be somebody that just would pound somebody's head into the mat, until somebody stopped them, right? Yeah. Like, that's not who I am. Like, you met me before. Like, I'm a guy that'll give you a hug. If a guy's talking crap at a bar, I'll say, hey man, yeah, cool. Like, but if you really want to fight sparring on Thursday, we could go to the cage and fight, but I'm not going to do it here,
Yeah. But once you step in there.
One of the things I say is, like, I don't work for free. Do you work for free? Like, do you change alternators for free or whatever? Whatever your job is.
I'm not going to kick your ass for free.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to entertain these people for nothing. Come on, So, yeah. So to me, it felt good, because I think there's a piece in human nature, and this is, I teach boxing, fitness and stuff. I'm actually in my 9-round gym right here in Las Vegas. If you guys are in Las Vegas,
dude,
come work out with me. It's a blast, Eric. You'll love it.
I keep trying to get out there. I do.
Yeah, get out here. We'll hang out and hit some stuff. But there's a weird thing inside of us that at some point in time, our ancestors had to be warriors to survive. We couldn't be as soft and coddled as we are right now in modern society. We had to work. We had to work hard and be consistent with things, or the result is you die, right? And so the people who didn't have that warrior gene, that hard gene in them, that gene died off. The people who did, so we all have a little bit of it in us. And I think we bring it out in different ways. I think people who suppress it bring it out maybe in a bad way. I was fortunate enough to bring it out in competition, and some people have more of it than others. I've seen people fight and they couldn't bring it out, so it's different for every person.
What's it like training people now? Because you stepped away from MMA.
Yeah.
That was a couple of years ago. You're not still wrestling though. What was your last match? It was like a year ago, wasn't it?
I've had some recently. When I broke up with my girlfriend, I was like, I'm gonna go wrestle now.
You had that rivalry with that one guy, and I remember I jumped on Instagram and I said something. I was like, go get it, go kick his ass, or go talk to him. I forget who it was. There's some kid who was like, you're an old man, get out of the ring, or something like that.
I had a couple good ones, man. I want to get back in if I have time. I'm running this gym now, and I'm working to get in the fire academy. I want to try to, I'm working on my EMT right now. I got the national exam in a couple weeks, and I'm trying to get this career thing down and get like a retirement. And
yeah, I've heard those are nice if you can get them. I've heard.
and actually do a job. I think firefighting would be a job that I would love. A good camaraderie and transition out of the fighting. So Yeah, but I don't know. I still like want to get in and get a match. And the FSW Future Stars of Wrestling here in Las Vegas, who's brought people to the WWE. It's great talent over there. That they always like they'll throw me a match if I want one. They're really good. They're awesome. So I'll sell some tickets too. They like that. So,
I'm gonna convince you to let me be your manager though one day. I'm gonna be like, you're gonna. Like I could do like we could do like 4 or 5 moves. That's about it. Then I'm backing off. I'm to the point. I don't want to bust anything again. So, but I can walk around and talk smack. I can do that.
Maybe I'll be a bad guy. The ref turns his back and pull the hair or something.
There we go. So you're really, one thing that I've always loved about you too is you're really positive, especially with the people that you work with as a trainer. I love that. You're always like, even during the pandemic, you've been online and social media. You're like, here's how you do this. Here's how you do that. Don't give up on yourself.
Right.
How do you keep that up? Is it just wired into you?
I don't know. I know you definitely catch more bees with honey than vinegar. I know that. My mom told me that a long time ago, and it makes sense in some sense. But I guess maybe it was how I was raised. My dad was that guy that we wouldn't complain about stuff. The stuff was bad, stuff was hard. He would just put his nose down and grind. He was a construction guy. He ended up owning his own construction company eventually, and that work ethic pushed through. I mean, and I always thought, like having a bad attitude about something, you'll never get anywhere doing that. Like if something sucks, embrace the suck and do it. I think life is too short not to smile and have a good time. Like I was telling somebody the other day, like I was refereeing a NAGA this weekend. It's North American Grappling Association. I fly out to different locations. I was in San Diego. I was in San Diego this morning, and we were after tournament, and people kind of go, well, that's a lot of fun. That's cool. You're doing this job. It's a lot of fun. And I'm like, there's a reason why not everybody's NAGA ref, because we have to go to the venue, get an early flight. We unpack the truck, set up the event, register people, wake up early the next day, register people more, bracket, help with bracketing with the event, and then I'll ref anywhere from 50 to 100 matches in one day, and there's people yelling at you and all this stuff, and you got to keep your mind right and learn how to diffuse it. And then you tear the whole event down, and it's usually a late night, and you have an early flight the next morning, and you get a paycheck at the end of the day. And so, yeah, it's fun because you're around a bunch of dudes and you're like doing this thing, jujitsu, and you get to watch all these matches. But it also can suck. But that suck. We joke around, we have a good time, we drink some beers afterwards. Like you got to find ways to make the crappy things fun. And that's just always, like I always call them super happy fun burpees in my gym. Yeah, it's just super happy fun burpees, they're
Those
great.
are the worst.
Yeah, they're the best, It's like, it's all how you embrace it. Why don't you like burpees? Oh, because they're gonna make you in better shape. Well, hell, that's what you came here for. You came here for stuff, right? So I don't know.
Hated those we were being Muay Thai training, and they're like burpee time, like
right. But I mean, I happen to be pretty good at it because all I did was get up and get down and up in MMA. Down and down. So that's basically all we did.
But it's important to the training and passing on the knowledge to other people. I mean, that's really important to you. That's right. You wouldn't be having the gym, you wouldn't do the training, you wouldn't do the reffing if it wasn't just down deep important to you.
Here's the thing, man. Like the difficult thing is I know the things that I'm doing and have done to enhance my life are things that enhance other people's life, like health, wellness, movement, sports, competition are healthy things. And I think I say movement is medicine. Exercise, fitness, eating good thing. If you do all that right, you're going to take less like prescription drugs. You're going to have more energy throughout your day. You're going to live better. You can hike a mountain if you want to. It kills me when somebody's like physically not able to do an activity and they're like in their 30s, like, oh, I can't do that because I'm not in shape, or I can't, whatever, I ate the wrong food or I did whatever. So I know it enhanced, but the hard part about it is it's a long road. It's the road less traveled these days, like in America, America, it's the road less traveled to keep that stuff together. And it bums me out because there's not a lot of money behind it. Like it's the first fitness and health and wellness is the first thing somebody will cut out of their life when they look at their bills. What can I spare? Maybe this gym membership, or maybe this good food that I'm trying to make, and whatever. And to me, that's sad. That's why I'm an advocate for this, because it's backwards. You should be focusing on this health stuff because this allows you to do the other things better. Like if you have the energy, I can work 7 days a week now because I'm in shape. If I wasn't in shape, I couldn't have reffed that whole tournament and be here on this podcast right now.
Right.
I did a private before this. I did a private training session before this, I was exhausted, but man, I couldn't imagine how exhausted I'd be if I was eating bullshit and stuff.
And it's going to add to your mental abilities too. You're going to be more positive. You're going to be driven. You're going to be able to find that clarity for whatever it is that you want to go after, because everything's cooking. The body, the mind, the heart, everything's working together. There's that balance. It's so hard to find, but once you do,
I'm a huge thing about balance, and it's hard when I own a gym. Because what you're supposed to do if you're a good salesman, you convince them, hey, this is the only thing that will make you. This is all you need to do to be fit, right? But what do I do myself? I'll do my 9-round workouts for sure. Like I love the cardio. It's close enough to fighting without reminding me of fighting, because I don't want to get back in the cage. I do want to get back in the cage, but I don't want to get back in the cage.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that actually.
Get into that, but so I do that workout. I lift. I love lifting because and I lift with good range of motion. I do functional things. I still do my squat, bench, dead, my cleans, my kettlebell work, all stuff like that. I try to keep up on all that, but also I do yoga, right? Like yoga is huge too. And this is what I was noticing too. Like when I worked at the gym True Fusion, I was a travel team director with them for their corporate studios. There's one getting up in LA right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in West Hollywood, WeHo, I think. I don't know what they call it. But you'll see, it's pretty bougie. It is. But I helped design the boxing program for him. And this place has a yoga backbone behind it. So you have this person who's a straight yogi, and I'd convince one of those yogis to get in the boxing class. And, they're kind of like, okay, well, you know what? I'm all peace and love. I love everything. And, I breathe it out. That's how I manage my stress. And they hit the bag. And I see their little forehead wrinkle, and they hit the bag again. And they're like, and they're ripping the bag harder than like the dudes in the class, because there is some energy that needs to be let out, right? Yep. There's, it's a balance. Like, just like when I was fighting and I would get in a yoga class, I'd be like, holy crap. Like, I get to like do stuff that feels comfortable in my body. Like I get to lay down and breathe. This is awesome, but then I would apply that technique in between rounds, when everything's chaos. Breathe, Dave, relax. Okay, have fun. Okay, cool. Because you can recover better with a positive attitude. You can recover better with like a relaxed state. You can't recover when you're all tight. Relaxed,
Are you telling me there's levels to fighting? Are you trying to say that it's not just pugilism?
I mean, I've seen Mayweather come to our studio, like the yoga studio is at Mayweather, the Diaz brothers. I know Claudia Gadelia, she's a female fighter. She took class at True Fusion all the time. I took with her. Like, I think people who have the time, can build that into their routine. They just mentally, they're more tough, and because you're going out of your comfort zone too. When you're doing yoga and you're a fighter, your body structure changes. You're rounded over, your shoulders forward, your head's forward. You have the complete opposite of the good posture that's required for yoga positions, right? So you're going, but it's good because it counters all that bad positioning that you're doing.
Your body doesn't want to move that way because your muscles have developed in a certain way. I'll admit it. I don't do well in yoga classes, and I've tried them, and it's just because I'm not flexible. I'm the first to admit it. So
that mobility, it's like more you do yoga, you learn how to bring your shoulders back and down with that good posture.
All that thing.
Just think about like how much, you do your chair pose, biceps next to here, shoulders down, scapula pressed together. You're not doing your warrior with your shoulders up, you're bringing them down and back.
Yeah.
that good posture. And it makes
It's so,
yeah,
it's that whole there, it's all tight.
you're forward, you're rounded forward.
Yeah.
So and this is why people have like fighters, they always get knots in their back and stuff like that, because your scapula starts to move out from the rounded over posture. And then you start using essentially movement muscles to stabilize that. And that's why you'll get knots, because the muscle will just lock up, be like, it goes, fuck you, man. I'm not, you're not gonna make me work. I'm just gonna lock up. Okay, cool. and you can do what you can to like rub that knot out, but at the end of the day, you have to change. You got to work on your posture. So towards the end of my career, at the end of all my striking sessions, I would do a bunch of posture drills because I became too rounded forward.
Yeah. Well, be honest with me, because I know, and you were public about this online, when you stepped away from fighting, it wasn't easy for you.
No.
Like, because that was a big part of your life.
Yeah.
So how were you able to kind of like deal with that? How were able to balance that in your mind and fill the gap in a healthy way versus an unhealthy way?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, so it was like a divorce, right? Like I was absolutely married to mixed martial arts in my career. If I dated somebody, the career came first, they came second. It was something I absolutely loved, and I still do. I love to grind. Like I told people, it's hard to do a fighting camp, but I embrace the suck, and I enjoy the process of learning and getting better and getting my body better and whatever the trials and tribulations that you go through, and then the actual fight is icing on the cake. That's just the fun part. So I had a couple of reasons to retire. One of them was one of the big ones was I saw the cognitive decline in fighters that I looked up to. I saw guys who were slurring their words a bit, would say something and then they'd forget it and they would ask you about it later. It was really weird. I saw classic boxers came at Extreme Couture with dudes like the one in particular I remember was Neon Leon Sphinx, who beat Muhammad Ali, and he could really speak, and he was like, a walker, and granted, those old school guys definitely took training a little differently, but I know I had some head trauma, and my chin started to go towards the end, and I was like, there's nothing I can do about that. And it's like, okay, that's my body telling me something. The reason my career was, I don't know, successful in a lot of ways, because I always listen to my body. Like, right. I'm not like, I always think somebody is so dang ignorant when they're like, yeah, the doctor said I can't do this for this long. I was like, well, you should know your body, bro. Like, don't like blame it on your doctor. Evaluate yourself, look inside. And it's like, this is how you figure out, hey, what foods work good for me? Does this food make you feel good? Does the food make you feel bad? Makes you feel bad? Get rid of it. Does it make you feel good? Good. Does it make you feel good at first and make you feel bad later? It's probably bad. You do that with your injuries too. You have to like, you can't let other people dictate your outcome, right? You have to like take their advice, listen to it. And that's basically what I had to do in MMA, right? You had to like listen to people's advice. Does that work for me? Yeah, I think so. Cool. I'll apply it. Because MMA was always evolving. And I had to deny, like there'd be a high level black belt that knew all this stuff. And he's like, this will be a really good move. And I'll be like, no, I had to be a scientist. I had to be like a little martial arts scientist and everybody's body is different. Everybody's attitude's different. Everybody's moves different. They have different physical attributes. So there's a giant toolbox and you got to pick out the ones that work for you. So it's interesting. I don't know how I got on that, but yeah, at the end of the day, retiring was a good move. The cognitive decline, the career thing. Like I know once you stop fighting, then that career completely ends. And there's some skills you generated there, but it doesn't carry over to income later on, unless you had like a blue check mark that you could utilize and be an influencer or whatever.
Yeah, if you're a brand that you can monetize on. Yeah.
And I was a little tiny brand. I wasn't huge, I was like, whatever. I was really popular in Africa. I had my title in EFC in South Africa, but in America, I'm just Dave Mazany. So, yeah.
But you were able to step away from it and you turned that energy into the training. You started working with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were really positive about it. You could have gone really negative, man. You could have like started drinking. You could have started, there's a lot of paths you could have gone down that former
Right.
fighters go down, because that's a big part of your life. It's like a divorce, like you said, man.
Yeah.
It's only a big part of your heart has been taken out. And not only is it taken out, it's taken out and it's set where you get to see it because it's still very prominent around you. So
Right.
I can understand that, but I can't, not to that degree, but
my friends are fighting. My sister still fights for the UFC, Gina Mazany, if you guys check her out. It is one of those things that it is difficult. And you guys can see everybody that wants to come back to fighting because everybody's doing these celebrity fights and stuff like Tyron Woodley and all this stuff. That fire will never die. That fire in your heart. If you were a true fighter, you're always going to want to fight. I mean, Don Fry recently if you guys heard him on Rogan's podcast recently, said, yeah, I'd fight Francis Ngannou. I just need to get these stem cells get healed up. I'm like, the dude's like, he's a fighter still. He actually punched somebody in the face the last UFC. I don't know if you saw that. Some drunk dude was like talking to him and he grabbed him. Bap, bap.
You're just looking for it. It's like there's a radar. It's like the Terminator thing. You're always looking for some, opportunity to use those skills. Drunk asshole.
I think, it's not, and that's not even how I look at it. I never have, I don't punch anybody in public. I haven't really, that doesn't happen to me. But Don is one of those old school, like if you guys don't know, Don Fry was one of those classic UFC guys back in the day. Like, look him up. He was a firefighter before he was a fighter. He wrestled in college, did a little bit of boxing. He was a firefighter. He always came out with a big old mustache, jacked. He was a man's man, talked with a grizzled voice. His fist is like twice the size of everybody else's. and he's like one of those guys, you give him respect, he'll give you respect back. But if you disrespect him, he's old school. He'll punch you in the face, right? Which I think that culture isn't a bad one these days. I think it needs to happen a little bit more. I need to invent an app where I can punch you through the computer screen. I'll be a millionaire.
Someone will do it with in the metaverse with the goggles and everything. Who are you watching now? Who are you watching? Fighters and wrestlers. Who's kind of on your radar now that you pay attention to?
You know what? I can't watch either product too much because it makes me want to come back.
Either one? You didn't watch the Royal Rumble the other night?
I didn't. I was in Naga, and lately I've been just working so much. I don't even have time to watch anything. Like it took me like 3 nights to go through. I watched Alien, the movie Alien, because I could only watch it in 30-minute chunks because I was so busy. Like before I go to bed. I've been grinding so hard. I'm working on the firefighter thing. I'm trying to build this gym up. I'm trying to keep my bills going. Again, like I said, it's been wild. But
where's the gym? It's in Vegas. Which part of Vegas?
It's like South Summerlin, technically Spring Valley. It's west. It's like Southwest area-ish. There's only 2 9 rounds in Vegas, and there's 700 of them worldwide. It's a franchise, and we got it dirt cheap because after the pandemic, whoever the people who owned it, like they wanted to get rid of it, and I figured I have the know-how to turn it around. I mean, and I'm really learning marketing, I'm learning sales, I'm learning, the business part, which is good. It's a good growth thing for me, but it's difficult. Like my product in here is awesome. Like my trainers are great. We have great technique, probably one of the best 9 rounds technically that you'll be in this region. I've been to a few and they aren't, it's hard to get like legit martial artists to teach. And I got good martial artists in here and people who are willing to learn. So it's a good spot.
Win me over right now. What are your hours? What time do you close?
We close at 8 p.m. But
every night?
Yeah.
Too late. No, it's too early. It's too early. My gym here, are you ready for this? My gym in LA closes at 5 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays. It's ridiculous.
Is it a box gym? It's like
it's a LA. It's a regular box gym, LA Fitness kind of situation. And it doesn't open till 8 in the morning sometimes. It's like,
Right. Yeah, and ours is a little different model. It's a kind of a cool model. It's open. It's during its open hours, you come in and you run a workout. You actually do a workout, but there's no class time, which is the cool piece. This is how it wins you over. There's no class time. So you come in, you scan your card, and you're getting like almost a private session with somebody. If there's a couple, it's like a semi-private session. There might be, 5 people on the floor, but 2 trainers, or, at most 9 people on the floor, 2 trainers. And so one round they hold pads for you. There's kettlebells, there's dumbbells, medicine balls, jump ropes. We do it all. It's really
so it's like, so it's circuit training.
Yeah, essentially it's
Okay.
30 minutes, a 30-minute workout. It's highly effective. We have heart rate monitors. Everybody can monitor the heart rate, make sure they're in the right zone. And this is great for brand new people, because if a brand new person wants to come in and kill it, especially if they're a former athlete. But if I look at their heart rate monitor, I'm like, yo, dog, slow down. Like, you're getting a workout, just sitting there, like do half the round and breathe until your heart rate goes down, then do some more. But then that encourages consistency, which is how this health thing works. You got to be consistent. If I kill you the first day, you're going to be crippled the rest of the week, and you're not going to come back. So it's a fine line. And I obviously my philosophies have changed. When I was a young kid pissing vinegar, I would just murder people and think that's training. But now I know it's a scientific approach, and
there is a way to do it.
Right.
But people want that fast result too. They're like, oh, well, I want to lose a pound a day or some insane kind of thing. And it's like, you're not a 16-year-old wrestler trying to make weight. You have
to realize, how long did it take you to get that way? How consistent you have to be to get that way? Oh, you had to, fast food every day. You had to not do anything for X amount of time. You had to get like a minimal amount of sleep. You had to do it a long time. Like, and at the end of the day, you have to do that for a long time. And so like, okay, now to reverse that, think about how much consistent you got to be on the other end to make it happen.
Yeah. Do you work with them to understand what they're doing more than just instructing them? Because I've always maintained that's part of the problem, is people are like, just tell me what to do. It's like, no, you should understand why, if you eat this, it's a bad thing,
Right. I mean, it's like one of those things that, like, somebody asks, I can, like, in a short amount of time during the workout, I can give you little tidbits, and there's not a lot of people who know. It's funny, like, as I dove into boxing, boxing as far as like as a workout, as a fitness modality, like with True Fusion, I helped them design their program. And I had to describe the why and like the technique to the movement for people, because they wanted to like dial it in for their user's manual. And I'm like, boxing coaches never really did that. They just kind of go, hit the bag with a jab, keep your hands up, sit down and you punch. It's not like, well, like when you sit down and you punch, that kind of indicates that you're able to move your leg, which means your head movement's good and you're not unbalanced. They're like same things.
Well, I mean, more not so much the boxing, but more like, if you work, like you just said, it's like, if I kick your ass today, you're not going to come back for 7 days. And you got to get in their head and have them understand, look, you need to heal for 24 hours, or your muscles you need protein, you need this, you need that.
Right. And this is a thing too, like nutrition science and recovery science and all this stuff. It's still one of those things that's taken a long time to figure out. It's kind of hard to study exercise and diet, because it's something we do every day, and you can't just do it all in a lab. So I mean, I think slowly it's become more and more important, because 100 years ago, you would just live your life and you were eating whole foods and you were getting exercise because you had to move around to get stuff done. Yeah. But now we can become more sedentary. We can order DoorDash. We can eat crappier food. There's new preservatives out there that didn't exist. So now we actually have to focus on actively being healthy. And so explaining it to people is tough, because there's no one answer. Everybody's body is different. Everybody's situation in their life is different. But there are general principles. And for some reason, car analogies always work well. Like the one I typically give to people, because like we have a lot of older people that come in, and I'm considering myself the older I'm not like 20 anymore. I'm like 38. I'm still young, right? People are like, oh, you're still young. But like they say, I'm studying the EMT, and they're like, the aging process begins at 35. I'm like, what? Am I starting to age now?
You're done, dude.
I'm declining. No, like, I disagree. But at the end of the day, my body doesn't work as good as it did when I was 25. I can't like pop out of an injury and I can't recover as fast as I used to. I have to do different things. But I tell people like a car analogy. I go, it's really, do you know what's really cool? What's that? I was like, when a classic car rolls up into the parking lot, everybody turns their head if it's a clean, nice classic car. But that classic car needs an oil change a lot more. You need to do more repairs. You need to be very in tune with the sounds it's making. You get a brand new 2022 vehicle, you can start it, stomp on the gas and go. It's not going to catch the eyes that the classic car will, but the classic car takes some maintenance, right? So keep in mind, yeah, you might be a little older, but you maintain that body, that meat machine that you're living in, right? You're a god dang unicorn. You know what I mean? Like, you're special.
That's good, dude. That's a really good one.
It feels good. It feels good.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, when you see that 50-year-old person, you know, who's like looking good, moving well, you're impressed with that. You're rarely impressed with a 25-year-old that oh, you have abs, whoop-de-doo. We all, you know what I mean?
being that almost 50-year-old who still
Yeah.
looks halfway good. I always joke though that it's like Ferrari on the outside, Ford on the inside.
Right?
You know,
But you know, that's, you know, but you can do more things than most people can do. You know, you're at your age, if you're taking care of yourself. And this is the piece about life, because in our bodies, this is what we live our life in. This is the vessel we live in. Why would you not want that vessel to operate effectively? Because like, you know, we do it with our cars sometimes. You know, if we have the means, we do it with our cars. Why don't we do it with our bodies?
yeah.
Like, I hate seeing a person out of shape riding a Ferrari. What were you saying?
Well, how long has the gym been open?
We've owned it about 10 months now, maybe.
Okay.
9 months. But it's this location's existed we bought it when it was 3 years old.
Did you have carryover of clientele? They were already.
We struck a killer deal. We had people already. We had, the gym was already built and stuff like that. We bought it for a decent price. That's the only way I was able to get it. I couldn't have built it from ground up. I didn't have the resources, but I had the resources to take an existing location. But it is still hard. You know, there's like, you know, there's fads everywhere that I'm competing with. There's people with higher marketing budgets. There's like January is supposed to be huge, but like, through Las Vegas, the flu season, the Omicron season, that swept through, and like, it was kind of thin. Even my own members, I'd call them, hey, where you been? Oh, my whole family's been sick, you know, and it's not like a point of pride to go to work sick anymore like it used to be. Now you're not supposed to do that. Like, it used to be pride to be like, you know, I was puking and diarrhea at work today, and I still went. I still dug my ditches and did my, you know, like, that used to be the tough guy thing, and now you're an asshole if you do that.
You do. But are you so the business side of it? You know, you mentioned that's a growing thing for you. Like, it's getting into that mindset. How are you able to do that? Like,
I've always tried to learn new things, and this is, I mean, if you look at, and I don't know, and this isn't for everybody, but in my opinion, this is kind of how I wanted to live my life, is experience the most things possible, right? I want to be that Renaissance man. I mean, I played hockey, I ran cross country, I ran track and field, did cross country skiing, wrestling. Into college, I was a distance runner, and then became a decathlete halfway through. Started training at decathlon, mixed martial arts fighting. You know, I had to learn every effectively learn a mix of techniques. You know, and then even at True Fusion, when I was a travel team guy, I had to learn all these different, I had to teach hot Pilates, hot barefoot boot camp, be savvy with a kettlebell in that room, teach a full TRX class. I taught hot bar, the ballet based thing, a meathead like myself teaching bar. I taught a yoga series over there. Yeah.
Still thinking about the you teaching the ballet.
Yeah, dude. Well, they even have a
somehow I can see it somehow
on the wall. It's like 7 feet tall in Summerlin studio, right in front of the men's bathroom. It's like me doing the thing, but it was, yeah. I wish it was the top, but it was that was kind of fun, because it like broke me out of my comfort zone. Like, okay, I gotta point my toe despite every single calf cramp, foot cramp. I'm gonna point my toe just as good as any dancer in our gym, because you got to keep in mind, in Vegas, you have Cirque du Soleil, you have all these these performance arts that are out there, and most of those people do instructing on the side. So our male bar teachers were legit dancers. They were legit professional dancers. So I'm like, okay, all right. But what I do in martial arts, I would like look at a technique and I would have to copy it, you know? So, okay, I just got to be a little bit more feminine. You know, I have to like just copy the posture in a different way and learn the beat, learn the rhythm, learn the movements, make sure it flows seamlessly. And I have to give feedback to myself. Was that a good class? No. Why wasn't it a good class? I need to do this, this, and this. Hey, what was my feedback, Eric? What would you like to see different and better? Okay, cool. Well, how was my music? You know, you're always adjusting and trying to figure it out. And I ended up having a pretty popular bar class, you know, just because like, and that was like my silly, goofy, I was having fun and, you know, I'd tell dad jokes the whole time to break up the monotony, you know, and it was a thing, but it was a performance. But yeah. So as far as like learning the business aspect, I like put myself in uncomfortable situations that suck, you know, because it just makes you stronger. It's stagnant. I feel weird. Like my buddy Eric, my other buddy Eric, I just visited him this week, Eric Diener. He's at a Rolling Stone gathers no moss. That was one of his favorites, you know.
It's true.
Moving, you know.
So let's hit one more thing.
Yeah.
Why now you're training to be a firefighter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of Rolling Stone carries no moss. Why? Right. How did that get into your mind that you wanted to do that?
My buddy Pete Martin, he was my old training partner. One of the first dudes I met in Vegas. We met in Vanderlei Silva's gym. We did the Don Fry Takayama spot where we just were sparring. I grabbed him by the shoulder. He grabbed me by the shoulder. And he just punched each other in the face. And both of us were too stubborn to let go. So he's beat the hell out of each other. And that was normal at Vanderlei's gym. So he, you know, started just getting into firefight. Like he like did a ride along. He loved it. He knew a few people that were in the department, and he went through all the courses to get there. And he eventually, now he's a Clark County Fire Department, which, and I look at it, I talked about what he does, talked about everything. And, you know, it's a good paycheck for one. You have camaraderie with people. Like I used to always be a part of a team. I'm a fight team, and we help each other out, and we have camaraderie, and we're all doing this weird niche thing that like normal people don't understand, you know, and it just, you have to be in shape. And this is what the fire department does. It's you see and do some things that are really difficult, right? There's camaraderie with you're cooking dinner for each other, cooking breakfast, you're working as a team together. Your lives are in each other's hands. When I'm choking you, right, my life is in your hands. You have to trust me to let go when you tap, right? Like I feel like fire department has the same thing. And there's hard parts, you know, like I like the idea of like working a lot than having a big chunk of time off, because I like to do things. I like to get on my motorcycle and ride somewhere, or I like to go for a hike and camp, you know, when I'm grinding every day, and maybe I have a little bit of time off every day, but I want to do cool. I want to experience things in life.
There's something about throwing yourself into work for a long amount of time and then being able to step away and totally shut it off. It's amazing. I'm with you on that one. Totally. And
I honestly haven't done that much in my career, because I've been just fighting and focusing on fighting. When I get done with a fight, take a couple of weeks off, and then I'll just get back to it. You know, I don't know where the next one is. And so I think the fire department makes sense for a transition from being a pro fighter to that. And people are like, oh, you know, and the other thing is like, I'm used to calming down a chaotic situation. When things got chaotic, getting caught in a choke, what do I have to do? Breathe. How do I get out of here? Okay, cool. Peel the arm. Okay, move out. Always punching me in the face. Okay, let me move my head. Okay, I got to put things here. Like I can't, like I'm cornering somebody. Hey, breathe, calm down. All right. Yeah, we got 30 seconds to tell you what we need to do to win. But, you know, and that's something I know I was battle tested. You know, I've been battle tested in a sense, like not 100%, but like I said, but like right now, the training is just cognitive. I have to pass the EMT. I got to pass the exams. I got to pass. I'm pretty sure I can do the physical stuff. I'm
I don't know, man. You're kind of weak.
If I, and it kind of gives me a little physical training goal too. I don't like training for no reason. Like training.
That's so hard. People don't understand that. It's when you don't have a reason for it. It even if you're into it, you got to have some kind of goal, or else it becomes monotonous.
I can't train to like, I want to look good naked. Like, no, that's cool or whatever. Yeah, I have abs and pecs and stuff, but that being driven off of vanity, I've never, and this is one thing I've done all the time, is I've never preached physical things like, hey, you want to look this way? Do you want this much body fat so you can look cool? Like that doesn't matter to me. Like what matters to me is like, can you perform how you want to perform physically? And maybe a good side effect of that is you start to look good. Cool. Awesome. That's a good side effect. But at the end of the day, you need to move well. You don't need to, I guess. I encourage you to move well and be able to do things, but
yeah, you want to train for that. Like I always told my friends that they're like, I want to lose weight. I want to do this, but I don't know how to do it. And they're like, well, what do you do? And I go, well, I go to the gym because I enjoy the lifting. I enjoy the process of it and keeping the records and figuring it out and moving the iron. And, there's a whole mental thing to it. And I'm honest with them. Like, it doesn't work for everybody, especially if that's not your thing. If you want to play tennis, but you want to go to the gym, then make sure that whatever you're doing at the gym helps you with your tennis game.
Yep.
And then it's going to be much more successful. You're going to be a happier person. You're going to see results, and you're going to see real results because it's helping you with the skill.
Right.
So
try to find stuff that's measurable. That's nice. That's always hard. Like you want to see performance progress. And in 9 round, like, here to plug my gym some more, but
it's in the show notes, man. I promise it. There's a link in the show notes.
But, like somebody kicks, I had a guy that his kick could only land like 2 feet off the ground. And then he kicked up to 3 feet. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like that is great. Like, look what you just did, and it's those small victories that we build ourselves up to, and that's what should motivate you. Not, oh man, but also encourage if people say, hey, I have to buy new clothes, they're all too big. That's the victory too. That is maybe an aesthetic thing, but with that, they're moving better. I had a guy the other day. He's like, I lost 40 pounds. I grabbed a 40-pound dumbbell. I was like, here, I want you to walk around with this the rest of the day. I was joking, but like, that's what you used to do. And you're not doing it anymore. Congratulations. Now you can live a more comfortable life, and we can continue to do that,
Yeah.
So
I love that when I've done that. When people have lost like 20 pounds, I've actually been at the gym and you look at the dumbbell and you're like, that's what you lost, man. That's,
Just
it's so incredible. Yeah.
10-minute walk with it,
Yeah. And they're like, screw that, whatever.
Yeah. They're like, no way. I can't ever think about doing that again,
Yeah. You still in love with Vegas? You still loving the town?
Vegas is interesting, man. It's a different town. I came here originally because it was like the best training in the world, in my opinion, at the time. For fighting. I mean, at the end of the day, you just go wherever it feels comfortable to you. But Vegas, I had family here. I stayed in the guest room for a while, and then I just grinded. And what I liked about Vegas is it had nothing that I was interested in as far as like that will distract me. And in Alaska, like I remember, like I was about a few months into being in Vegas, and I was laid there like Friday night, sore and crazy. I'm like, oh God, everything hurts. I'm like, man, I hope nobody calls me to go out and party tonight. And I was like, oh wait, that was back in Anchorage. We go to Charlie's and get hammered, on a sawdust floor. Like that doesn't exist in Vegas. That old, they kind of recreate it in a couple places, but it's not. I mean, Hogs and Heifers is like the only spot. Have you ever been there?
I haven't. I've gone by Coyote Ugly and some of the other places, but not Hogs and Heifers. No.
So Hogs and Heifers. Yeah, man, you got to go there. So Coyote Ugly is like the PG version of Hogs and Heifers. It's like kind of like the, hey, we do this thing that's a gimmick. I don't know. It's like a gimmick. Hey, you guys want to play a game? We're gonna dance on the tables and like, hey. But like Hogs and Heifers, they'll like dance on the table, talk shit about your fanny pack. You know, they'll try to pressure you into buying them shots, and like, it's great. You know, like, hey, around. It's awesome, and it's a little biker bar out in Fremont, so cash only. Don't try to run a credit card. Yeah, it's fantastic, but it's the only thing that reminds me of like Alaska bars. So that's kind of how it came into it. Like, okay, I'm gonna stay focused because this place, I don't like to gamble because I like to make money and not lose it. Vegas wasn't built off of winners, y'all.
Don't. You're gonna ruin the whole travel industry.
Yeah, no, don't ruin my town. But then now I'm like, wow, there's like actually there's cool things. I have a little bit of time. I don't right now, but I did. Where there's like Red Rock over there. There's good hiking over Red Rock. I just bought myself an inflatable paddleboard like by iRocker. That's just awesome. They didn't sponsor me. I totally bought it. Like, I don't know why I gave them their brand, but I go to Colorado River. It's right across the border of Arizona. It's like 45 to 55-minute drive. And I can inflate my board and just go on like where the Hoover Dam blocks Lake Mead. And then the Colorado River comes through. You can paddle up of that, and I'll grab a cooler and float back down, have a couple beers, and, eat some snacks. Go up to Mount Charleston. There's cool stuff. Like there's a lot, and you have access if you want to go on road trips. You have California over here. You got Utah on the other end, and there's all kinds of cool places you can go based out. And and it's a good hub to fly out of too.
I forgot you're a hiker, aren't you?
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I grew up in Alaska, man. Like we hunt, we fished, and my dad thinks it's weird. Like, I don't know why you would hike if there's no animal to shoot at the end of it.
Okay, Dad.
We literally, sorry, LA audience, if that's who we got, but we literally, like I was eating dinner one time, and I was like, what is it? What are we eating? It's like, oh, it's a roast. Like, what kind of animal is it? Like, oh, it's beef. I'm like, what's beef? And they're like, oh, it's cow. I'm like, Dad, when are we gonna go shoot a cow? Because all we ate was like moose and caribou and bear and stuff like that, and I didn't know, like I saw food in the store, I guess, but I just assumed we shot everything we ate, but granted, if you can think of anything that's more nutritious and organic and good for my body, it was wild game, right? I grew up with wild salmon, wild halibut, wild moose, caribou, that when you pull out a moose steak, it is bright, like dark red, like it's dense and it has a different taste to it. And like, and I know me, my brother, my sister are I would say we were always abnormally strong in a sense. Like we were just a little stronger than most people. We weren't the weak kids, but and I kind of attribute it to like good nutrition growing up. Like we had good, like, and it wasn't like we were very meat and potatoes, but it was like meat,
But it wasn't McDonald's. It wasn't, you weren't growing up on fast food.
Yeah. And when we ate it, it was like, I'd go, oh, maybe it's just almost crap myself, I would tell the difference. So I'm a real big advocate of good food and that was kind of like me thinking back. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And my mom was really good about cooking dinner. Like she worked. What my mom did was incredible. Like she was able to work, took care of us kids. She had dinner for us almost every day. It was amazing. I don't know how she did it. Like I can barely take care of myself. But through that, she taught us how to cook. Like all the kids in our family can cook. So it was. How did
you get from Alaska to Colorado? What was the reason that you guys moved?
We didn't move. I went down there for college.
Oh, you were in Alaska till you got to college.
Yep. And I
copy that. Okay.
Had a really good Division II program. They have a classic. They were at 7,500 feet. They actually ran the Olympic trials there when the Olympics were in Mexico City because it matches in altitude. And it's a kind of a world famous place for endurance athletes to run. I wanted to be the best endurance athlete in the world. And I realized I was just I wasn't built for it. I like saw the Somalian kid, the Kenyan kid, and I'll be like, oh, that's what I need to look like. And I'll never get that lean. You know what I mean? Like they're built this. Some of the guys on our team are built like they would clip along. They would do 20-mile runs at 6-minute mile pace and talk the whole time at 7,500 feet. Eric, it was stupid. Like these guys were studs. You're
like, I'm gonna go fight at the bar.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, I tried really hard. That's all that distance running was. I was like, okay, what do I got to do? Win? I got to run faster than everybody. What do I got to do? Run faster than everybody. Make my feet move faster than theirs. How do I do that? Just don't be a pussy, right? Like, just be tougher than everybody else. So
I had the same thing because I was on the track team in high school and I threw javelin, and where I went to high school I was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I walked on to the USC track team, and somehow I made it. And I looked at the other javelin throwers who looked like they'd just gotten out of the WWE. I mean, these are like huge guys that are training for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And after a couple of weeks, I was like, I am never going to the Olympics. And they have this thing at college called beer, and I really like it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go drink the beer. You guys enjoy training for the Olympics. And that was the end of my collegiate NCAA career right there.
It's tough, man. It's like,
you find your space. You realize sometimes you're just not made. I wanted to also be a second baseman in the major leagues. That never happened either, so
my
not built for it.
Was ice hockey. I want to be in the NHL, and then
Hmm.
I'm 5'9". I was like, well, there's not very many guys that are 5'9". They're all 6 foot, around plus or minus. And I'm like, man, that sucks. And I had that hard lesson in genetics, you know what I mean? Like, and genetics. But what I liked about fighting is there's weight classes. But the problem with the weight classes is, like, I was in the toughest weight class. The lightweight, the 155-pound division. It's the most cutthroat, tough division there is. It's because
you're the lightweight Brock Lesnar, right? Because you're doing wrestling and MMA,
right? Yeah, I had a special niche. But the problem with that is, like, I always joked around that we're the rejects. We're the guys that couldn't make it as pro athletes, so we decided to fight. Like, that's what I always thought was, like, interesting about John Jones. If you guys ever seen John Jones, he was a guy with NFL caliber genetics who just was crazy enough to decide to fight, because you could warm the bench in a NFL and make more than most fighters out there. Like, you're doing well. So that, but he decided to fight for some reason, and he just kills it.
Yeah. Have you ever run into anyone who you, in training or fighting, and you talk to them and you just want to, like, kind of put your hand on their shoulder and be like, maybe accounting is a good career path for you? You just don't. What is the mental angle or the? Yeah,
well, a lot of it in my mind, because I don't know. I think fighting's one of those ones that you can. I really don't. I mean, I don't know. I really don't think I'm genetically gifted in a lot of ways. I think my gift was just persistence and hard work and dedication, really wanting to learn. I could be like, just to not, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But, like, the ones that I say, hey, you should quit, is the dude that, like, shows up for a couple weeks and he doesn't show up, and, like, or he's, like, trying to do too many things at once. Like, he's like, I don't know. I really have I really, like, some people, they'll, like, have a family and then they try to put into their family, but also put into fighting. And I'm like, fighting's never, like, the odds of fighting being something that's going to be fruitful and put food on your table is very low. And if you don't have your 100% dedication to it, it's even lower, And so people, like, I don't know, maybe it's people with, and it's never my place. If people ask my honest opinion, I've given it to them, but unless it's somebody really close to me, which, I wait for people to ask for feedback before I give it. I'm not going to, like, say, yo, this is what you need to do. That's what
you suck.
Like, this is for you. Because that's what people told me before I came to Vegas. People told me to hang it up. And I just put my middle finger up, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to drive to Vegas now. I'm going to prove you wrong. And, I became something that, none of them did. And
do people come to you with, like you said, people come to you for advice? What do they ask you? Like, how do I do this? Should I do this? What's techniques? Like, what are the questions?
Well, like my sister is one. Like, I'm kind of like more of her emotional coach. She'll, like, oh, I feel this, and this, and I'll have to, tell her, hey, that's absolutely normal. It's normal to be nervous. Once you stop being nervous, it means less to you. Like, nerves are an indication that something's important. Like, I'm ready for this national exam for the EMT. I'm, like, really nervous about that. because it's important. And I know that will change my life.
Mhm.
My sister, that stuff like that. I've had people like, hey, I want you to train me, like get ready for a fight. But like, I know that's a lot of time and you don't get compensated for that time,
Yeah.
And at this point in my life, I need to pay my bills, and I cannot afford to train people for free,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they see a guy who like got to a certain point, and here's the thing is, I know how to coach. Whereas, there's a lot of great athletes that don't know how to coach. I can see things from different perspectives most of the time. Like especially like doing things like teaching teaching Pilates, teaching all these different modalities. I got better at translating the language to people. Like basically boxing, when I did that boxing program, it's translating a boxing language to Pilates yoga people. Like I got to describe it in a way that they understand, because they don't know what it is. So I got good at articulating an idea to people in a different way, right? So I'm a good coach. It's just something that like takes I just don't want to go down that path. Like being a fight coach is not fruitful unless you make it. And
But
even when you make it,
could you? Because we already talked about how that's tough because of how important it was to you.
I think it is, and I think if I was to do that, I would go to a town that might have a void. Like I'd probably go to a small town, run a small school, and then do local fights and see if I could build up that way.
Yeah.
That would probably be the way to do it. But I've been on the grind for so long, Eric. It's like I need to. I want time off, and I want to enjoy my life in certain ways. And
Mhm.
I enjoy coaching, I enjoy teaching, I enjoy doing all that. But at the end of the day, it's like I need to I need to explore a little bit more. I need to check out life a little bit more and see what's out there. I mean, and I'm saying this as I've like, hey, I fought in South Africa 7 times. I fought in Australia 3 times. I've been, fought over in Canada and stuff like that. But when you do those trips, you're like cutting weight, you're traveling, you're nervous, you're not having fun, you're not drinking that special liquid called beer that you talked about that's really delicious. You have a couple after the fight, and you're socially awkward because all you did was sit in the gym and train all day. So you're like, hi, my name's David.
Yeah.
Can't even talk to girls. Like people, you get a lot of girls. Like, no, I don't even know how to talk to girls after a fight.
But your head's like half. You're not exactly looking like a catch at that moment either. You got one eye swollen shut and a split lip. Hey, baby.
All I know about is like, yeah, you see my Kimura? Like, I don't know. What submissions do you like? I don't know. You just don't know how. I don't know how to socially interact. It's like weird.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if you ever ride you ride motorcycles, don't you?
I did a little bit. I know I would kill myself, so I've kind of veered away from them.
Right.
I know my genetics and my weaknesses.
Right. That's smart, right? That's smart. It's like when you ride a motorcycle for I don't know if you ever do a long trip, long time, like 4 or 5 hours, like over here to San Diego. And at the end of the trip, somebody's like, hey, what's going on? I'm just like, I don't know how to talk. Because I just focused and zoned out and didn't talk. I was in a meditation for 5 hours. Like, I don't know how to talk. I don't know. Have you done that? Has that ever happened?
I've been in situations like that. I know exactly what you mean. Because you're like, you're focused and your ears are dead and the whole, I get it.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me now.
Conversation. That's how it kind of feels after a fight. Like you get done and like, I don't, because it's all like it's like this gradual buildup, like you're in a roller coaster, like tick, 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 tick,
Yeah.
going up the thing. Well, it's like you're waiting in the line, right? Like if you go to a theme park, you're waiting in a line and you're like seeing, like, I don't know, like the Jurassic Park ride or whatever. If you're in the Jurassic Park ride and they're like have the screen, they're talking about all the dinosaurs, you're kind of getting hyped. And you're like, oh shit. And then you like go through this thing and you go through the ride and then it's done.
Yeah.
And it's quiet. Yeah. And that's how like a fight is. It's like a gradual build, tons of chaos, and then it stops. And then you're with your thoughts and whatever. And then you realize, oh, I'm just a normal person. Like this fight actually didn't change my whole life like I thought it would, my outlook on everything. And then you get a degree of depression where you just kind of like you're on this like low, because everything that goes up must come down. Like you get that big adrenaline boost, serotonin boost, this, whatever boost, then it just falls. Even if you're carrying a title. It doesn't change your life like you think it would.
Yeah. Acting's kind of like that. When I would do like a film or I'd do something, you would travel somewhere and you're not enjoying where you're traveling because you're working or you're in the moment and you're filming. And then suddenly you think it's going to change your life. And then you get done and you realize it was just another gig,
Yeah.
and it's like, you build it up. You did your first movie recently too, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that go?
It was awesome. It's called, it's a movie called Move Me No Mountain. And it's an independent film. Deborah Richards is the director, and I don't know if she wrote it or not, but she was a director. It's about this woman who deals with their child's death, and she becomes. And I didn't read the whole script. This is what I gathered too. I'm excited to see it.
You're a real actor.
Yeah, right.
You just read the pages you're on.
So, and it was kind of this casual, like, hey, you want to do this movie? I'm like, yeah, sure. And, and then I guess she becomes homeless, and it kind of like lines out the homeless population in Las Vegas. And if you guys don't know that, a lot of them live under the tunnels in Vegas, tunnels because it'll flood. Like back before there was an irrigation system, when it rains, there'd be giant tunnels, and they're nice and cool during the summer. And so a lot of them will live down there. They'll have I don't know, structures and stuff.
Yeah, there's a whole city down there. I've seen the videos like on TikTok. They go down there and they get chased out and stuff.
It's wild. Yeah. So my buddy Pete, who's a firefighter, he did calls around him, and one time he met the mayor of one of the tunnels. The guy came, I'm the mayor. He's like, oh, hey mayor, we're looking for Steve or whatever. So, hold on, I'll take care of that. But so the part in the movie that I played is where the actor, the character Jenna, she's like in her little box, and I'm a crazy, drugged up, whatever. I'm a maniac. I was the maniac. That was my name, my character. And I just violently beat the crap out of her, right? Like I beat the crap out of her and walk away. And she's left there I knock her tooth out. And, it's violent. It's ultra violent, and it was kind of cool because it was a weird point in my life to where I was going through like a depression stage. I was very not happy with myself for reasons. And I did this thing, and I was through my pro wrestling and the stuff I did there, and knowing a little bit of stuff I worked on set with my brother, and he worked for fun. I helped him with I've been on Funny or Die shoots and stuff like that. More comedy, but it was cool because I killed it. I get the facial expressions. I had to throw the stunt double, some stuff. I'll tell you what happened later, but some stuff went down. So I had to actually work with the actress, not the stunt double. So I had to make her land clean and safe. I didn't be safe with her, but pro wrestling's all about being super safe. And so it was they're pretty excited about the job I did. And I was super pumped. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I'm actually good at things, other than, I don't know. We get so self-critical about ourselves. But the funny thing about that shoot, we were in a tunnel, and it was in a nice part of Henderson, the houses and stuff, but we go in there and there's somebody down in the tunnel, yelling, right? It's a legit homeless guy or whatever. And we're like, okay, we did our thing. And all of a sudden it starts getting smoky, and he started a fire at the other end. Right. So the tunnels just start smoking out. And the fire department showed up. We had to leave, and I go network with the Henderson Fire Department. Hey, I'm trying to see one of you guys. It's nice to meet you. And the guy's like, so are you a real homeless person, or are you just playing one? And I'm like, oh, I'm just playing one. He's like, oh yeah. Yeah, this happens all the time. They set fires and whatever. And so what they do is they spray water down the tunnel, and it's not like a layer of water. It's not like it's going to drown them. It's just a layer, it puts out the fire and tells them, hey, don't light fires. Don't
do that. Yeah.
Don't do that, and I guess it's a thing. They'll start fires down there, and, but it was, it was really interesting, but that's why it got cut short. I think we had to I don't know, set back up and had to throw her a few times. It was interesting, but it's gonna be a cool movie. I'm excited to see it.
Are you gonna do more? Did you enjoy it enough to pursue it?
It's one of those things. I got so many lines in the water. Like, I don't know. I mean, I would love if I got
if somebody came to you and said, we want you to do this, and you had the time, you'd be all over it.
100%. I love that process. I love the creative process. I love, that's all I, get out of my body and do different things and live a different life for a second. It's cool. I did a little movie with, I did a little extra work, a combat scene with Randy Couture. I forgot the name of that movie. He just needed to shoot one scene. They didn't have enough action in it or whatever, and they want to do the whole like, I woke up from a bad dream of war stuff going on, and I was in the war stuff, and you want people in those parts to like be actual fighters, so he they moved well.
Yeah.
Frank Trigg was one of the stunt guys.
Randy's doing a lot. He's been working with a couple guys that I know that do films out here. They've been trying to get like 4 different films off the ground with him. Like, he's got so many little projects he's trying to get going.
Yeah, he's keeping himself busy. He keeps himself in really
his wife too, right? His wife is
his girlfriend.
Is it girlfriend?
Wife,
his partner.
Mindy. I think you're Mindy.
Yeah.
I think
so, dude.
The last script.
Yeah. I think I've read a couple that she wrote, actually.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Promote the gym, man. Promote it. Give me what you got.
You got 9 Round Kickbox Fitness at 355 South Fort Apache Lane in Las Vegas. If you look it up, we're the one on the west. There's one in Henderson. The one in Henderson's good. If you got to go to that one, go to it. The owner's name is Abel. He's the man. So work with us and bring your friends here. First workout's always free. If you ever want to see some pro wrestling, Future Stars of Wrestling is the best promotion out here in Las Vegas. Tickets around $20. You can't get a better deal than that to like watch pro wrestling for $20. And we have like phenomenal talent. Like, it's crazy. You go, are these guys getting paid much? Because I don't see much, but they give their time, man. They give their body, give their time for the love of the craft. And that's what I love about pro wrestling. So go see Future Stars of Wrestling. If you if you want to do some like MMA stuff, go to Extreme Couture. Randy Couture's gym. That's where I trained my last fights out of. Also Vandalay Silva's gym, One Fight Team. I've been over there for a while too, so I got to give them a shout out. But
what about you? Where do people go find you?
Dave Mazany.
Come on, Claw.
Follow me on Instagram, Mazany MMA on Twitter and Instagram, and then I have Facebook. But who uses Facebook anymore?
We're gonna put all those in the show notes.
Put it all on there. But
I really appreciate you spending some time with me, man. It's been nice catching up, and I know everybody wanted to hear your story. So and thanks for being honest with me about some of the things too, and actually like talking some truth. So
I'm an open book with that. I don't like to like give false. I'll tell you the good, bad, and the ugly, but I like to focus on the good, like you said.
Support comes from the History's Train Wrecks podcast that focuses on stories like a temper tantrum that changed history, the president who promised not to run again and regretted it for the rest of his life, the World War II general who lost his pants on a secret mission in enemy territory. The History's Train Wrecks podcast, available now.
Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed the show. Help us spread the word by subscribing and leaving a review. If you want to support us even more, you can find a link to our Patreon account in the show notes. And if you're one of our diehard fans, head on over to the VikingDogStore.com, where you can find official Open Highway merchandise to show your support to the entire world. But most of all, thanks for listening.
For the highways of America, which for so many years were an assortment of as many designs and pavements as there were states, are now becoming one big road that can take you anywhere faster, safer, and more directly than ever before. What is this big road? Where is it going? How much has been built? How much is yet to come? These are questions we ask. Certainly traveling the entire system would be a memorable experience, but few of us have the time for such a trip.
Copyright Viking Dog 2022. All rights reserved. The Open Highway is a trademark of Viking Dog LLC.